This is the scariest thing that ever happened to me. It was the middle of the night and 12:05 a.m. when all of a sudden someone started banging on my bedroom window. I live in an apartment building, so I thought maybe someone had accidentally knocked their cigarette lighter out and it was flicking around in the wind. Maybe they were looking for some help or trying to get someone's attention. But I didn't want to open my window because of bugs. So I turned off the light and went back to sleep. About 2 minutes later, I heard a soft knock at my window again, and I thought, "What the heck?" I got up and opened my window and yelled, "What do you want?" A very nice young woman was standing outside on the fire escape. "Hi," she said. "Do you mind if I come in? My name is Mary." Confused, I asked, "But how did you get onto the fire escape?" She looked down and replied, "I don't know. I just found myself here and I need some help." I told her that she's on the wrong floor, and she looked up at me and said, "Oh, really? Because I feel like I've been climbing forever." I thought she was lying and was going to try to steal something. So I asked her to leave, but she refused. So I closed my window and locked it. At this point, I wasn't feeling sorry for her anymore. She was acting weird and she admitted she didn't know where she was. Well, I couldn't believe what I was about to hear next. As I started to walk away, she suddenly knocked on the window again and said, "You can call me Mary." Then she climbed up to the next floor. I shrugged and figured she was crazy. Then I heard a knock. 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 I turned around to see the same girl standing right outside my window. I checked my clock and it read 12:05 a.m. She smiled, turned, and disappeared. I went to sleep but woke up at 7 a.m. to the sound of pounding on my door. "What do you want?" I yelled. "It's too early to be up." No answer. I got up and opened my door. It was empty. Was it all a dream? I walked over to my window to check the time. It was 12:05 p.m. Our next terrifying tale proves not all secrets should be kept. It was late at night when I heard my dad's key enter the front door. He came into my room, switched off my bedside lamp, and asked, "Do you want to know a secret?" I knew exactly what he was talking about. Every night before my brother and I would go to bed, Dad would tell us a story. After the story, we would ask him to tell us another one. He would say yes, but only after switching off the light. And whatever he told us, we weren't allowed to repeat to Mom. These stories could be funny or disgusting, but tonight he told us a scary story about a house on the hill. He described how there was a family who lived in a huge house by themselves. One day, a man came to the house and knocked on the door. The family didn't know him, but he begged them to let him stay in their home until sunset. They agreed and let him hide under the dinner table. At first, everything was fine, but then the man started screaming for help. The family didn't know what to do, so they called the police. When the officers arrived, the man stopped screaming and hid under the table. They couldn't find anything wrong, so they left. And when they went to check on the man, he was gone. And the next day, the police found out that the man's body had been in their basement the whole time. Dad said he hoped that whoever was telling this story wouldn't end up like the family in the story, living in a house all alone with nobody to talk to except for his stories. He turned off the light and told us to go to sleep, but I couldn't. I sat in bed thinking about how sad the family must have felt to be trapped in their home with a dead body inside. And I started to wonder, did my dad know something I didn't? Did this story have a connection to him? Suddenly, I heard a knock on my window. It was dark, so I couldn't see who was out there. So I called out and asked, "Who's there?" The figure moved and I could see a hand. It was white and bony. I screamed and threw my blankets over my head. The knocking continued and I waited for it to stop. But then the knocking turned into footsteps, and the footsteps turned into screams. And the voice I heard next made me wish I hadn't woken up. It was my dad. "There's someone here with you! There's someone here with you!" he screamed. And then my mom rushed in and said, "Don't listen to him, sweetie. It's just a dream. Just go back to sleep." But our next story proves even dreams can be nightmares. I was always happy when I visited my grandparents. They would let me stay up late and watch TV with them and eat snacks. And since they lived in a small town, it was easy to get good reception on their old TV. My favorite program was the Twilight Zone. I loved the spooky music and how unexpected the endings were. One night, I had a bad dream. I dreamed that I was walking down a dark hallway and I could hear people moving around on the other side of the door. And when I reached the end of the hallway, I found my mom sitting in a chair. She looked at me and didn't say a word. Then I woke up. It was 2 a.m. and I heard my grandma say, "Where are you?" She sounded scared and confused. I ran downstairs and asked what was wrong. "I don't know," she replied. "I had a dream that you died, but it felt real." She seemed relieved to see me. "Are you sure you're okay?" I asked. "Yeah, I think so," she said, smiling. "Why don't you go back to bed? I'll watch TV for a while longer." But soon, my dream started to feel real. I watched my grandma slowly transform into the woman from my nightmare. Her skin became gray and wrinkled. Her eyes stared blankly ahead, and she looked exactly like the woman from the Twilight Zone. I ran upstairs to my room and tried to wake my grandpa up. "Look," I whispered. "Your wife looks like that lady from the Twilight Zone." He didn't respond. I shook him again, and he slowly opened his eyes. "Don't you remember?" he whispered. "She's dead." And now it's time for our bonus story about a creature that stalks in the shadows. Many years ago, when I was in college, I lived in an old Victorian house with several roommates. We had a big, beautiful yard with lots of trees and a tall wooden fence around it. One day, we noticed a big hole in the fence, and we figured that some kids had made it. But we never went out of our way to fix it. Then strange things started to happen. Sometimes we would hear footsteps in the yard, but when we stepped outside to investigate, we never saw anyone. We also started to notice that certain items had been moved from different parts of the yard. Once we even saw a full set of dentures lying in the grass. I don't remember why, but one night I decided to take a walk around the yard to see if I could find the source of the commotion. I wore my bravest face and grabbed a baseball bat and flashlight and headed out the front door. As I rounded the corner of the house, I saw a pair of eyes watching me from between the bushes. I stood frozen in fear, and when the eyes started to glow green, I started to scream. I dropped my bat and ran back to the house and didn't come out for days. Now, even though I'm older and wiser, I still can't bring myself to go outside after midnight, because I know what's waiting for me in the shadows. Now it's time for you to make your voice heard. Which story scared you the most? Let us know in the comments below, and if you dare, stay tuned for more terrifying tales. Thanks for watching.